There are a few reasons as to why we hold in our light. And there are ways in which these experiences also become distorted. Not always by the people who've had them, but by the people who are on the receiving end of the teachings. Because that kind of experience, one could call it an experience of enlightenment. I don't consider myself to be self-realized or enlightened, but certainly a part of me really awakened in that experience. And so there are teachings that are present and available in the modern era that have been around for a long time, but they've become popularized around oneness. But when the mind grabs hold of that, it then becomes a dogma. So there are teachings of oneness, and people go around preaching oneness, which really translates into, well, if you understand oneness, that means that you agree with me. And oneness and unity dictates that you behave like this. Now, do you hear the separation and all of that? And so individuals are attempting to understand this experience from two different places. One is a concept of what oneness is, and then telling others what oneness is, which is coming from a place of separation, because it's really coming from the mental field. We're processing that through our third chakras, as opposed through the heart. The second place is, from a scientific point of view, looking at quantum physics and a quantum view of the universe. So both places are very conceptual. That's not an anti-science statement. That is just an indication of where, particularly in Western culture, we try to understand things. We try to run it through our linear mind, and it cannot be. Just in the same way that I recognize in communicating this experience to you, I've had to run the experience through my linear mind after the event in order to come up with a structure of the experience that can be communicated, give it a timeline, and then give it words to describe things that didn't actually happen. What I mean by that is to use the words, then I gasped. I didn't gasp, I wasn't in my physical body, I didn't go, but using the word indicates a rush of energy, let's say, a movement or a change of energy, and as an emotional response, we gasp as an emotional response to something because we're either shocked, surprised, delighted, enthralled, etc., or in wonderment of something. You can be walking up a hill, and as you reach the precipice, you see this gorgeous landscape or a sunset, and you, oh my goodness, how beautiful. So that using that word then describes that. So that's what happens with teachings of oneness. They then become teachings that are explained through the mental field, and then other people go around dictating what is oneness. Oh, well, you're not at one, you're in separation. Well, that in itself is a statement of separation. And so it's about being, for want of another word, because I know that this is a teaching, there is a teaching out there that's called non-duality. So I'm trying to avoid using these words, because then it then puts what I'm saying into yet another box or a dogma that they want to put what I'm saying in, like Advaita Vedanta or non-dual healing or non-dual teaching, the power of now, etc. And nothing against any of that. But we have a tendency as human beings to want to connect everything and put everything into nice, neat little boxes. But your question was really more about, well, okay, so there's all that light. Why don't we live in that light? And that is because of fear and shame. As children, we came into the world in our essence. That's why so many of us we respond so positively to young children, to puppies, to butterflies, to babies of all kinds and animals, because they are unedited in their essence for the most part. I say for the most part because my experience is that some children come into the world with a very clear signature that's been left from past life experience, or something that's happened in utero, or a very heavy ancestral burden. But for the most part, children are in their essence and therefore standing in their innocence. However, all of us, having experienced that in very early childhood, also know the pain of being told, not now, later, I'm too busy, go away. No, little boys are not supposed to do that. No, little girls are not supposed to do that. Almost the instant that we're born, images are projected onto us. As soon as our gender is known, then lots of images are projected onto us. Very often, children are given the responsibility of living out their parents' unfulfilled dreams. So many children are coerced into becoming musicians or artists or financiers or very successful in the corporate world or something in order to fulfill either the mother's or the father's unfulfilled dream. Very often, if a woman is very happily unmarried and disappointed in her husband, when she gives birth to a boy, she will project onto him her image of what an ideal man is. Very often, a father will project onto his daughter, that's why we get the term daddy's little princess, that image of what the ideal girl is supposed to be like. And then school teachers and religion and everybody else will project images onto us. The pain of not being seen for who we truly are, for not being seen as our essence, is intolerable. It is a very deep pain, and so we lock it away. Because as we express our essence when we're younger, we're told no, not only verbally, but also in an unconscious way, and then also through, as I was talking earlier, about our chakra and the cords that are coming out. And so images are projected out of the third eye onto the child. So superimposed onto you is what a girl is supposed to be like. And depending on what culture you're from, that could be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Or that could be you have to go out and get yourself a certain type of husband. Maybe from the minute you're born, they're already predicting how many children you're going to have. Well, what happens if you're gay? What then? And so there are ideas and images around who you're supposed to be. And that's not related to who you are. And so we limit our light, we limit our essence, because A, it makes us visible, B, it challenges the images that others have about us. And so we keep ourselves small in order to keep hidden and keep away from the critical voices and the attacks. And very often when people sit in their essence, when they sit in the true and authentic power of who they are subject to a lot of attack. Because others cannot tolerate that which they are too afraid to do. And in order to stand into your essence, you need to meet the ugly truth that you've told yourself. I've spoken about that in other videos. And so the ugly truth is not because it's true, but because we believe that it's true. We've told ourselves we're ugly, we're worthless, we're too stupid, or too fat, or too white, or too black, or too this, or too that, too something or other. And we've believed that to be true. And so then it behooves us to face that. And human beings will do anything, even when it's ridiculous and dangerous, will do anything to avoid pain. And so we consistently choose long-term suffering over short-term pain. And so our essence is locked up behind all of the pain that we experience of having not had our essence reflected back to us. And that starts, for most of us, even from conception. Even from conception, so it starts. I'm pregnant, my child will be. So it starts, and so it starts. That's becoming less and less now. It's meaning that that tendency to instantly decide what your child is going to be and what we expect the child to become, that has lessened in Western culture, but it's still extremely present. Extremely present. And so we long to be recognized for our essence, for who we are. We long to be recognized for our magnificence. And so one of the reasons why we don't step into our magnificence is because our need to belong is very strong, and there's a strong belief that if we step into our magnificence, then we will be alone. We will be the outcast. And so we hesitate in doing that. And so those people who do also open themselves up for attack from others, because it's intolerable. It is intolerable. So then they become like frightened dogs or cats that are being cornered. They're hissing and spitting all over the place because someone's light is intolerable for them. And so if we look at the stories of some of the great teachers that have been manifest on this planet, if we look at the Buddha, if we look at the Christ, if we look at Krishna, read all those stories. Herod wanted to kill Jesus. I can't remember the name of the king, but the local king where Krishna was born wanted to kill Krishna, wanted to kill all the firstborn children. Those two stories are very, very similar. So whenever a great light has appeared, someone has wanted to kill them. So whenever we step into our essence, someone wants to stop us. Not because they're evil or working for the dark side. I don't go for that. It is painful for them, because they still yet do not have the courage to challenge all of the images that they took on and still continue to project outwards. And so stepping into our essence is about stepping into the truth of who we are. And everything I experienced in that fully alive experience, often communicated as a near-death experience. I was more alive there than anywhere else. Everything that I experienced there told me, not only are we precious, but we are magnificent. We are magnificent beings, and everything is magnificent. A blade of grass, a grain of sand. Everything is magnificent and known and precious. And so we need to remind ourselves of that, and not to take everything that is said and turn it into another image. It is not my purpose and it is not my desire, but no doubt it will happen, that someone will listen to my words here and go and tell somebody else, you're supposed to be magnificent, and this is what magnificence looks like. That's what happens. That's what happens. And so it's only sinking into the deep, sacred, holy of holies of the heart can we stop ourselves from doing that. And that means facing it all. Facing it all. The fear, the hatred, the jealousy, the envy, the doubt, the worthlessness, the self-loathing, and the self-hatred. When we have the courage to face it all, then we can allow our essence to shine. And when it does, we can only bless and forgive the hatred of others that is directed towards us for having the courage to be what they haven't yet found the courage to be. And that's okay, that they don't have that right now. I don't have it every day. As Jesus said to his disciples, you will deny me 3 times before the cock crows. I deny this, my heart, 3 times at least every day, or more. That's what he was talking about, denying the nature of who we are, pointing to his own heart. There's work to be done, and lots of it, for you, me, and humanity. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.